So today I'm going to talk about the what Dogen said about the eighth and ninth precepts. Three to go here. The eighth precept is, as you know, I think. Well, you don't know the number, of course, but probably. I vow not to be avaricious. Okay? Uh, this is about wanting things solely for the small self. It's one of the three poisons of greed, hatred, and delusion, the kleshas, called in Sanskrit, taught early on by Shakyamuni Buddha to be the main causes of why we suffer. He even defined nirvana as not being under the control of these. So it's important to know what these are, although if you don't, finally it's not, you, you don't have to know this. But this is one of the basics of Buddhism. The problem with therefore this is about positive desires. Okay, so the problem with liking or wanting things, this is avaricious here, isn't when it has to do with taking care of the body, such as when needing something to drink, but with, for example, not being satisfied with what there is to drink. So one is with your mind, and one is not. Okay. The issue isn't with quenching your thirst, but with having something specific in mind to do it with. A glass of water is not going to do the trick. We are caught by a single thought: I want something. Pardon me, I got caught just now, and are taking care of our mind rather than our body. Then we want what we think we want, and if wanting more than we actually need, we get greedy about it. That's the avariciousness. Being thirsty is a physical fact, while needing to have some particular drink isn't. It's a mental one. Though in this case of thirst here, we won't suffer much even if we don't get what we'd like to have. But in more painful situations of not getting what we like, the result is the same. If we live by likes and dislikes, we are not really living. We're in our mind, we're not in our world. As the Genjo Koan says, to carry the self forward and illuminate myriad dharma. Dharma here means things. So to carry the self forward and illuminate various things is delusion. Something that our small self has made up. Dogen explains this precept with one phrase, one verse, that is the 10,000 things, one dharma, 10,000 things, and the 100 grasses, one dharma, one realization is all Buddhas and ancestors. Therefore, from the beginning, there has been no stinginess at all. One more time. One phrase, one verse, that is the 10,000 things and the 100 grasses. One dharma, one realization is all Buddhas and ancestors. Therefore, from the beginning, there has been no stinginess at all. To be stingy is indeed to want to keep something for oneself alone, but Dogen's response here to this may be maybe to a earlier version of this precept, which was directed towards those holding back on giving the Dharma, not wanting to teach. They were being stingy about the Dharma. That's how it reads in the past. Okay. But anyway, Zen Buddhism, which is a form of exoteric Buddhism, that's not hidden, has no secrets. So as Dogen says, the Dharma has been clear right from the start. He gives two examples for this. In the first one phrase, one verse, that is the 10,000 things and the 100 grasses. The one phrase, one verse stands for the 10,000 things and the 100 grasses, which are how Dogen represents all that exists in the relative world. The 10,000 things and the 100 grasses. As said above, things are, of course, ultimately thoughts. And the word, for example, water, is merely a picture, is merely one picture, because there are other languages that have different pictures of the substance itself. You can't eat a painted cake, Dogen said. In the second example, one Dharma, one realization is all Buddhas and ancestors. One Dharma, one realization stands for the knowledge and experience that sages have had of the absolute world. Uh, and that one Dharma and so one realization, um, uh, and pardon me, and that stands for um, Buddhas and ancestors. That stands for the first of the 7 Buddhas before Buddha that we pay homage to in the Bodhisattva ceremony until now. With these two sentences, one about the teaching of form and one about the teaching of emptiness, the first one, all 10,000 things in 100 grasses, that's form. One Dharma, one realization, that's the absolute of all Buddhas and ancestors. With these two sentences, one about the teaching of form and the other about teaching of emptiness, respectively, Dogen covers the Buddha Dharma in entirety. He finishes with, therefore, from the beginning, there has been no stinginess at all. Being reluctant to give away what we want to keep for ourselves is a negative side of desire. We want, okay? However, everything has always been taught, and there is no reason to be stingy, whether with the things of our relative world or the no things of the absolute. One second here. Page is mixed up. Okay, here we go. I'm sorry. Okay, so that's now for the 9th precept. The 9th precept is, I vow not to harbor ill will. That deals with the second of the poisons, hatred or aversion. It's the negative side of desire, rejection rather than desire. What we don't like, that's what this is about, what we don't like, or like but don't have, can get stuck in our minds and make us upset. Thoughts of anger and or fear in themselves are very natural in that they are here to keep us out of danger. As we do in Zazen, we can identify such thoughts as they appear. But if they are not let go of, our perhaps ignoring them and refusing to accept that we could think such things, they can balloon into resentment and result in our, as Dogen says, or translated, harboring ill will. Forming a grudge or looking to get even all because of a single thought. Dogen doesn't respond with warnings, however, about not losing one's temper, but with not negative, not positive, neither real nor unreal. There is an ocean of illuminated clouds and an ocean of bright clouds. Not negative, not positive, neither real nor unreal. There is an ocean of illuminated clouds and an ocean of bright clouds. These two types of oceans, one of illuminated clouds and one of bright clouds, in this case, oceans are our mind, and clouds are our thoughts. This might seem to represent having negative and positive thoughts. However, Dogen refutes this by saying not negative, not positive. He does this because their origin, the mind itself, is neither of these. It's not negative, it's not positive. Indeed, while dark clouds covering an entire sky before an impending storm can dominate a whole day, even unruly emotions that we have are, in this Dogen's case, illuminated by the bright light from our true nature. Neither are our thoughts, quote, real nor unreal, unquote. They are not real in lacking substance or permanence. Here and then gone, again and again, but are not unreal in that they are in our minds. It reminds me of children when I was in my generation. I have a feeling I haven't heard it for a very long time. We used to say, sticks and stones can break my bones, but names can never hurt me. Have you ever heard that before? Yeah, you have. I don't know what's current and what isn't current because of our living in Japan for a long time. Okay, that's the two precepts then today. Uh, number 8, right, and number 9. One positive and one negative, but they're about the small self. Okay, here's Jane. I got to pull me over. Jane. All right, here we go. Okay, here we go. Okay. Yes, Chris?
So, just right off the bat, I was wondering if you could explain a little bit more what Dogen means when he says one word, one phrase, that is the 10,000 things and the 100 grasses. What is he talking about?
Okay. Well, actually, he's he's actually here, uh, and this I had a little trouble with actually, but I believe he's talking about form. He's talking about all the relative world, but the one phrase in this case is not an or what was it one word one phrase, I guess it is, right? That's just about how we use language to talk about ordinary language, the ordinary way that we do things. There's two sides here. One side is the relative. There's always two sides, and so does Zen or Buddhism in general. One side is the relative side. The other side is the absolute. It's not just a matter of one or the other. Sometimes there is just one or the other, but generally, so this he's talking about everything that there is. There's the relative world and the absolute world. All of this has already been given to us, both in the ordinary dharma, in the ordinary things of things as dharma, one word, one phrase, or one dharma, one realization. That's about emptiness. So he covers form and emptiness. So in this section, he's saying it's is that everything is already there. So therefore, why be stingy? Why hold back from teaching the Dharma, or just hold that in this case? So his explanation is about teaching, actually, rather than just being stingy with things in ordinary life.
And what are the 100 grasses?
The 100 grasses is what Dogen uses. Well, 10,000 things, 100 grasses is what Dogen uses to represent the variety of things.
So kind of similar to grasses, rocks, tiles, pebbles, or
Well,
grasses,
he
fence.
uses that also. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
but just in general, he's like just regular stuff,
Regular
regular
stuff. Yeah,
everyday world things.
that's right. That's the first part, and the second part is the Dharma and the people who teach the Dharma or Dharma and the realization, the result of hearing it of hearing the Dharma or practicing. So therefore, everything is always there, and it's always been there. So don't be stingy. You have everything. You have the 10,000 things. You have the 100 grasses, and you have the potential, or in fact, you already have, in the sense of Buddha nature, you already have everything else too. Okay, Matt.
I'm curious who his audience at the time would have been with regards to not teaching the Dharma, with being stingy about teaching the Dharma. Is it possible that he's addressing himself in a sense and reminding himself not to be when he's tired of it all, just keep
No,
going,
no,
keep doing it? Or
he
is he
could feel that.
addressing senior students? It's strange. His Who's his audience?
Well, one possibility. That's a good question, and but no, it's not himself. No, I don't believe at all because he spent his whole life teaching this. But it could be senior students. It could be people who I guess. Well, here's my guess. I guess we have to call it guess. Is that of course you know the goal of Theravada Buddhism and Mahayana Buddhism varies towards the end because our goal is to save all sentient beings, and the traditional goal of Theravada Buddhism is not to be reborn, or to also stay in the mountain and just be that way. Although in fact, of course, Theravada Buddhists, of course, are teachers. So that, but that was their goal. So therefore, in the Mahayana, our whole job is to be not stingy. That's why we practice. That's why sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them. That's our purpose.
There's a historical argument that that distinction that you just described is actually a political one.
I think it may be, but yeah.
Because the Theravada tradition is actually quite a generous one. Historically, I mean, first of all, you have their lineages. So you have all of these teachers going out and teaching with dedication. And not only that, but they have a tradition of also providing social services and basic needs that traditionally Mahayana Buddhism hasn't addressed. I mean, I've encountered this in different studies that I've done, but that aside, and I just wanted to bring that up to provide some context. Could you also address the phrase of you talked about one word, one phrase? there's a phrase that I've come across: know and not know. N-O
Yeah, yes,
and
yes, yeah,
not know.
yeah. Sure, that's good. That's a good phrase. It's possible. It's possible. I'm not the uh, what I told you about the, as it were, Mahayana vision of Theravada is the is what Mahayana Buddhists thought about Theravada. Okay, so that's a kind of historical fact. It may not be true at all, but that's great vehicle, small vehicle. Okay, it's that kind of thing. Now, whether Dogen was necessarily talking exactly about that, I don't know. Okay, and I also don't think probably that he was talking about one particular phrase, but he could be. There's one phrase right there. June?
Could you repeat the few sentences at the end of your talk? Something about not real because it's impermanent, but not unreal because it exists in our mind or something like that. I don't know if I got it right.
Well, well, up above, he talks about the 10. This is not your question, but this is a preamble here. The 10,000 things and the 100 grasses, one dharma, one realization, is all Buddhas and ancestors. Therefore, from the beginning, there has been no stinginess at all. So well, first off here, um, oh, that's the wrong one. That's number 9. So let me go. Let me go there.
It was at the very end.
Yeah, very end. Yeah. Just a minute here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so Dogen says, pardon me again, about about um, about don't wait a minute. Oh, about not to harbor ill will. Okay, once again, that's a little specific as for all negative things, but anyway, not to harbor ill will. Anyway, it's resentment, but a lot of our anger is based on resentment. Uh, anyway, so but then he says these clouds. Pardon me. Oh, I'm sorry. This not negative, not positive, neither real nor unreal. There is an ocean of illuminated clouds and an ocean of bright clouds. So I can put this, change it around, and put one forward and backward different. There is an ocean of of illuminated clouds and an ocean of bright clouds, and these are not negative nor not positive, and neither real nor unreal. Just like in the case of of, do not kill, you can you the fact is you that you can't kill. You can't kill Buddha nature. You can't destroy. You maybe we can work on destroying the earth, but we can't destroy the universe. It's not that's kind of a pun here. Okay, and so therefore, these clouds, which are our thoughts, these clouds, some of them are some of them are uh, illuminated clouds. That means we see the white cloud, and some are. I mean, pardon me. Illuminated means from behind. All the silver lining cloud. Okay, the cloud is dark, but you can see the sun is behind it. That's the illuminated clouds, and then there's the bright clouds. The bright clouds are the clouds that we can see totally. Okay, because okay, so and these, even though there are 2 types, these are not truly negative nor positive because they 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 come from our mind, and the mind is not those ways. The mind is not positive or negative. The things in the mind can be that, but the mind itself is not. The mind is neutral. That's not the right word either, but it's not. It's empty. The mind is empty. So therefore, therefore, as I mentioned a little bit earlier there about to Matt's question, or someone's, I guess it was Chris actually, that Buddhism always sees things from two sides. One is, for example, well, actually this comes out in my next talk, but I'll use it here because it comes to mind. Does a dog have Buddha nature? The answer is yes, sometimes, and no, sometimes. And both are operative. Both are correct. But they're talking about different, in this case, with that example, different times in the practice. One's talking about form as emptiness, the other's talking about emptiness as form. So these two things are always taking place. But in the process of practicing, we first meet form as emptiness. We have no idea about emptiness, and we study emptiness through our sitting. We find that the things that we think are real are only, as it were, figments of our imagination. That's how they're okay. But here he's saying not real and not unreal. They're not real in that they are something that we make up as language. But on the other hand, they're in our minds. So that's for not real, not unreal means we have them in our minds. So the unreal is form as emptiness. And the not unreal is emptiness as form. Always two answers. You can don't kill, but however you can't kill anyway. Okay, June?
Yes, so when we say something is not real, is it related to the impermanence?
Yes, it is. That's
So
so
everything that is not permanent is unreal?
yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, let's put it this way. The Tibetans translate it as empty of intrinsic nature.
Empty of
Intrinsic nature.
intrinsic nature.
Yeah, and this wait a minute, wait a minute,
Empty of
that's not quite right. Empty. Oh darn. Anyway, things don't have an intrinsic existence.
okay.
So the self, the self, that's what everything is impermanent means. So that's what's being denied, is that the one that I can't remember the exact translation, which is a problem right now. But empty of, it's not quite exactly right, but it's something like that. Empty of intrinsic existence. It's not empty. It's empty of intrinsic existence.
Okay.
That's what it is actually. That's what
So we are like our small self, like our, my identity is this person, June.
yeah.
That's not really
That
permanent. So that's actually unreal.
that's that. Well, that is well. In the case of this right here, it's both. I mean, he says neither real nor unreal, but you also can say in a little different context is some things what's real and what is unreal. The self itself, by self I mean June, who's irregardless of what she thought about herself or how she identifies herself. When I see you, I know that's June. That's there. That I can't deny that's there. What's there is that you're not permanent. So that's a very important distinction. So the not self part, the unreal, is the things that are actually come from our mind, not from our true existence. They're not talking about your body.
Okay, so it's more about how I feel about myself and how I think about myself. That's not real.
Yes,
Not my physical existence at the moment.
that's right. Yeah. Of course, that also is not permanent, but basically, um, um, uh, but what you just said now is correct. Yeah.
So we're not denying the existence itself of the body, although that's impermanent as well. And it's more like my form right now as June in this body is real at the moment, but when I die, it's not like I'm essentially lost because I've been here already before I was born, essentially. So it's kind of like this
What,
form is more
what do you
temporary.
mean by that, June?
Sorry?
What do you mean by? Pardon me. What do you mean by that?
So when we say don't kill something, although,
Oh, yeah, that yes. In that case, yes.
yeah, so like if I die, it's not like I don't exist because before I was born, I already existed in some sense,
And what is that sense?
meaning that there is both impermanent part of myself and permanent part of myself.
No, probably not exactly that. Uh, uh, because when we say, you know, uh, realization means to realize that really you are one with everything, and one with everything means you are a part. You're a part of the whole shebang, and because you see you and you see the whole shebang to be together, and it gives people, as they say, a great relief to know that fact. It doesn't, and that is so. Therefore, even if I die, it's okay because that Buddha nature, but which is not June, because it's everybody, it's the universe, goes on.
Right, so that's kind of what I'm trying to say
Okay, good.
is that my identity as this person June is impermanent, but there is Buddha nature in me, which is the permanent part of it. So I know that even if my physical body dies, that's not going to be destroyed because before I was born, that already existed.
Yes, yeah.
So, but the fact that I exist as this person June is important at the moment, right? Like we're not denying
No, we're not
how
denying.
real that is.
No, no, no.
Um,
Let's let Jane try this one out. Jane, what do you think?
I'm not sure.
It's hard. It's hard to do it. Yeah.
I think what Peter was just saying is true, that we think of ourselves as a limited person. June, is just June, but June is actually everybody else at the same time, and you have a flow through you, a flow of life in you that expresses all the time as it may seem like June, but it's a June with another color to it, as it were. It's as if you have this flow of different colors coming through you all the time. So June exists, as June, but at the same time, June is also everybody else.
right. So that's kind of how I am starting to look at the identity as something that when I attach my thoughts to the idea of identity, like what makes me and who I am and what kind of person I am and all those things, then I'm actually limiting myself.
That's right. And if you don't strongly define yourself, then you leave the door open for all this flow through you to express itself. And in that sense, all possibilities are there. and you don't have to limit yourself to I can do this, I can't do that, I like this, I don't like that. In fact, you have all possibilities to express yourself and even to be yourself.
But would you say that in order to understand that and to be able to be more open about different aspects entering us, we have to first have strong identity
Yes,
to base
Well,
off of?
I think so. I'm sorry. Well, let me finish one
okay,
second.
okay.
I think you do have to have a strong self-identity, because to have that means that you understand yourself. You understand the things that drive you and stop you, and all the things that give you the greatest color. You understand assets and you understand all your liabilities. When you understand that, you're not limited by them anymore. You can open the door and just let that open and stay open, and then allow other things to come in and freely come in, because they're coming in anyway. But allow them freely and consciously to come in and express through you, all your real potential.
And I would think that there are people who are kind of naturally like that to begin with. For
Mhm.
whatever reason, some people are just kind of like that, but I think most of us are conditioned by ideas and identity and
I
reform.
actually don't think that's
No,
true.
I
I
think
don't think
that's
anybody
yeah,
is like that
yeah,
naturally.
yeah. But I
Close to it. I've met those people in my
when
life.
you say a strong
You
identity,
probably see the
then
result.
we get lost in the word identity. Identity generally is a mental thing.
Yeah, so it's kind of like how you define yourself. I'm this kind of person. I don't do that. I don't like this. I
Yeah,
like this, and all those things. And
yeah,
they have
but
very
yeah,
strong preference of things.
But you
yeah.
can let that go when you really understand it. You can't
Right.
let something go if most of it's hidden from you.
And that's all that has to do with the small self. When you and that and the small self is protected by the three poisons. Yeah,
Right.
and so therefore you're when those things are gone, they're missing. They've taken away. They've lost all their value. They still may be there, but they don't matter anymore. You don't think of much of yourself as having a strong identity. You are, which is the same thing, but we don't use the word identity.
Right. So I just think that,
Everyone is, and everyone is the whole world.
right. So we don't realize that, right? So we feel like we have to define ourselves with ideas and words
Yeah. So some
and
people
how
are
we
very good at
look
that.
and what we eat, whatever that might be, because we don't really believe in that natural identity.
And
It's just
maybe that,
being.
June, maybe the statement, the 1,000 words, or one word, 1,000, what is it? How does it go? Okay, 1,000 things, which reminds me also of the sutra that we say often. What's that? The sage from the east comes. What is that one?
Oh, how many different
Yeah, the
qualities?
harmony of difference and equality. There's a line in it that mentions from the roots all the leaves spread forth.
Yeah.
And
Trunk and branches share
yeah,
the essence.
share the essence.
They're
So
very in
meaning,
common. Have each has a speech.
yeah. So you're like the root, and all the rest of it is like the whole world, and from you, all the trunks and branches spread forth, but they all come back to one source, which is in you, I think.
That
Yes, so it sounds like what you're talking about, perhaps, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is with regards to what Jane was talking about with uh, once we understand those things that I can't remember the language you used, Jane, but miscellaneous traits about ourselves,
Or all states.
and we can once they're thoroughly understood, they can and accepted, they can be let go of.
yes.
And are you talking about those things that we value, those definitions about ourselves that are valued, and those definitions about ourselves that we wish to be rid of, but don't seem to be able to
Yeah, like
shed.
liabilities, perceptions, ideas, anything that comes from us.
But letting go of is the same meaning as accepting. So you have to accept who you are. We reject a lot of who we are because we don't want to accept it. We all have our foibles, as a word, nice word for us, foibles. Probably stronger than foibles, but in the way they are like foibles. Okay, and so you would just, there, when you look at that, and then once you've looked at it, then you can drop it off. You can't drop it off without having seen it first. So we aren't we're like opening. We're always opening the lotus flower that comes out of the mud. Lotuses must start in mud, and then they come up through muddy water. They come to the surface, and then the leaves go out, and then the flower comes out. And so you kind of reveal yourself, but it's not a self. It's just you and your world together. Rachel?
Identity being such a contemporary word, but nonetheless, it's useful. But when you said see, just now, when you were talking about seeing, could the process for a person be something like, first you have to be able to, let's say, see a photograph or a painting, actually a visualization in a sense. And then next, be able to see a diorama, a 3D, if you like, representation. Then the next stage, you actually are in the landscape. You see the mountain or whatever, you actually see it. And then finally, you're part of the landscape. And you forget about seeing it all because you're simply part of the terrain. Is that making any sense?
No, it's very, very, very complicated metaphor, but yeah, it does. Yes, it does.